Originally, we wanted to just make it an overview of what Islam is all about and talk about its human source, but then it evolved into more stuff into the presentation. I hope you get something out of this. Here is a list of what I'll be talking about. So it's quite a bit of information, so we'll go through that. As you know, the Muslim population is pretty significant in the world. It's estimated at 1.57 billion. It's 22% of world population. They are the second largest religion in the world. Only Christianity with 33% and a little over 2 billion is larger than Islam. Islam is growing at a rate of 2.9% per year. This is faster than the total world population increase, which is at 2.3% annually. It is thus attracting a progressively larger percentage of world population. So in light of that, we should find out what Islam is all about and where it is heading and what it teaches. Islam is an Arabic word. It means submission or surrender. Submission to the will of God and obedience to His laws. You'll be seeing a lot of pictures throughout the presentation. I did that intentionally so it won't be too boring for you. And I like to have a colorful presentation. These are mosques in actually the city of Isfahan in Iran. As you know, it's a unique artwork, really. You can hardly find something close to it. Isfahan is a major tourist attraction in the world, and it's very famous for this type of artwork. Islam is a monotheistic religion. It was founded by Prophet Muhammad in the 6th century. From a Urantia book perspective, it's an evolutionary religion. That means its origin is human. It contains elements of weakness as well as strength. That's what the Urantia book says. The teachings of Islam are influenced by three religions: Zoroastrianism, Judaism, and Christianity, but it is mainly Judaism. These are the symbols of world religions on the right, evolutionary religions. And we are told by the Urantia book that the Urantia book is the only revealed book we've had in the book format, and I put that revelatory symbol there on the left to signify that. I would like to read from paper 159 to kind of set the foundation for evolutionary religions. There is a conversation that takes place between Nathanael and Jesus. I'm just going to read from that. It says, "And then went Jesus over to Abila, where Nathanael and his associates labored. Nathanael was much bothered by some of Jesus' pronouncements, which seemed to detract from the authority of the recognized Hebrew scriptures. Accordingly, on this night, after the usual period of questions and answers, Nathanael took Jesus away from the others and asked, 'Master, could you trust me to know the truth about the scriptures? I observe that you teach us only a portion of the sacred writings, the best as I view it. And I infer that you reject the teachings of the rabbis to the effect that the words of the law are the very words of God, having been with God in heaven even before the times of Abraham and Moses. What is the truth about the scriptures?' When Jesus heard the question of this bewildered apostle, he answered, 'Nathanael, you have rightly judged. I do not regard the scriptures as do the rabbis. I will talk with you about this matter on the condition that you do not relate these things to your brethren, who are not all prepared to receive this teaching. The words of the law of Moses and teachings of the scriptures were not in existence before Abraham. Only in recent times have the scriptures been gathered together as we now have them. While they contain the best of the higher thoughts and longings of the Jewish people, they also contain much that is far from being representative of the character and teachings of the Father in heaven. Wherefore must I choose from among the best teachings those truths which are to be gleaned from the gospel of the kingdom. These writings are the work of men, some of them holy men, others not so holy. The teachings of these books represent the views and extent of enlightenment of the times in which they had their origin. As a revelation of truth, the last are more dependable than the first. The scriptures are faulty and altogether human in origin. Nathaniel, never permit yourself for one moment to believe the scripture records which tell you that God of love directed your forefathers to go forth in battle to slay all their enemies, men, women, and children. Such records are the words of men, not very holy men, and they are not the word of God. The scriptures always have and always will reflect the intellectual, moral, and the spiritual status of those who create them. So there you go. Quran uses basically the Old Testament stories and Old Testament teachings to present the new religion of Islam. And here is Jesus is telling you that that is all human in origin. Islam's holy book is Quran or Quran, composed of 114 surahs or chapters, written in a rhyming and poetic Arabic style which sounds delightful in the ears of the Arabic listener. Quran means reading or recitation. The surahs are not placed in chronological order. Some of the surahs contain verses delivered at different times and put together without regard to the subject, except in the opening verses and some few passages in which Muhammad or angel Gabriel speak in the first person. The speaker throughout is God. So in that sense, it is distinguishable from the Bible, where in the Bible you're reading it, it says it's the inspired word of God. You don't hear, in much of it, you don't really understand that God is speaking to you. But when you're reading the Quran, you sense that this higher being is talking to you as God. Surah 85, the constellation, says, surely this is a glorious Quran inscribed on a preserved tablet. I took this example to show you the rhyme that exists in Quran that makes it delightful in the ears of the Arabic listener. It is a surah called Mankind or People. The name of the surah is Nas, which means people. I read it in Arabic and then I'm going to tell you that in English. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul a'udhu birabbin nas, malakin nas, ilahin nas, min sharril waswasil khannas, allazi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas, min al-jinnati wan nas. Did you notice that at the end of each line we had the word nas, which means people? Throughout the Quran, you're going to see the same pattern, this poetic and rhyming style. And that is what makes it very attractive to the ears of the listener. And they feel like this great power is talking to them throughout these words. The meaning of that is, in the name of God, or Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful, say, I take refuge with the Lord of mankind, the King of mankind, the God of mankind, from the evil of the slinking whisperer, who whispers in the hearts of men, among jinn and men. Jinn are a type of beings that are talked about in Quran. They're like midway creatures. Think of them as midway creatures. They are like semi-spirit type beings. They become visible at will and invisible. My mom could swear to God that she had seen a jinn. I can talk to my family and every one of them says, I saw a jinn. And from childhood, I was always scared that I'm going to go to these dark places and see this jinn. But I never saw jinn, but my mom can say, I saw one, believe me. They are real. So jinn or genie is this like midway creature type of beings. Some of them are bad and some of them are good. Throughout Quran, the same Old Testament stories are narrated with some variation. The story of Moses, Pharaoh and opening of the sea, Jonah and the big fish, Joseph and his brothers, Noah and the ark, Adam and Eve and the story of creation in 6 days. Other stories are also added, such as the destruction of Ad and Samud, which is similar to the story of destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Here is your Noah's ark for you that the woodpecker has caused some holes on. He says, will someone get that woodpecker? And, and there is Moses' snake his staff turning into snake on the slide on the right. That tells you about the story, actually. Story of Sodom and Gomorrah. The pictures on the right side are from the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. this story of destruction of Ad and Samud is similar to that story, except that God destroyed these cities by different means. And I'll read that from Quran for you. In their pride, the people of Samud denied their apostle when their arch sinner rose against him. The Lord's apostle said, "This is Allah's own she-camel. Let her drink." They disbelieved him and slaughtered her. And for that crime, their Lord let loose his scourge upon them and razed their city to the ground. He did not fear what might follow. In the other surah, 69:4, Inevitable, it says, "By a deafening shout was Samud destroyed, and Ad by a howling, violent gale which he let loose on them for 7 nights and 8 long days." I see the wording in red. That is in contradiction with what I'm going to show you on the next slide. Notice that it says by a deafening shout, like my voice. I don't need that. Okay. By a deafening shout, Samud was destroyed. But pay attention, see how Samud was destroyed in the following verse, which I'm going to show you. Earthquake. Upon an earthquake. By an earthquake, in the one in red. So by shouting versus by an earthquake in the same book, 2 different means. I mean, see the contradiction? I mean, that alone should tell you that, either 2 different people narrated the story or somebody told the story to somebody else and he said it to somebody else, and over time it got changed and, who knows what happened. And here's that surah. Let me read it for you. It says, "And to Samud we sent their compatriot Saleh." Saleh is a prophet of Allah. He is not mentioned anywhere in Bible. He said, "Serve Allah, my people, for you have no God but Him. A verifiable proof has come to you from your Lord. Here is Allah's she-camel, a sign for you. Leave her to gaze at will in Allah's land and do not molest her, lest you incur a baleful punishment. Remember that He has made you the heirs of Ad and provided you with dwellings in this land. You have built mansions on His plains, as shown in the picture, and hewed out houses among His mountains. Remember Allah's favor and do not corrupt the earth with wickedness." The haughty elders of these people said to the believers whom they oppressed, "Do you really believe that Saleh is sent forth from his Lord?" They answered, "We believe in the message with which he has sent." Those who were scornful said, "We deny all that you believe in." They slaughtered the she-camel and defied the commandment of their Lord, saying to Saleh, "Bring down the scourge with which you threaten us if you truly are an apostle." Thereupon an earthquake took them unawares, and they lay prostrate in their homes in the morning. Saleh left them, saying, "I conveyed to you, my people, the message of my Lord, and gave you counsel, but you had no love for those who sought to guide you." So there is the similar story to Sodom and Gomorrah. Let's see what the Urantia book talks about these earthly or these type of scourges that God sends to unbelievers. Paper 93. It was following this real and public surrender of his personal ambitions in behalf of the larger plans of Melchizedek that 3 celestial beings appeared to Abraham on the plains of Mamre. It's reference to Genesis 18:11, which I dug out. This was an appearance of fact, notwithstanding its association with the subsequently fabricated narratives relating to the natural destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. And these legends of the happenings of those days indicate how retarded were the morals and ethics of even so recent a time. Urantia book paper 2. God is never wrathful, vengeful, or angry. It is true that wisdom does often refrain his love, while justice conditions his rejected mercy. Paper 4. The eternal God is incapable of wrath and anger in the sense of these human emotions, and as man understands such reactions. These sentiments are mean and despicable. They are hardly worthy of being called human, much less divine. And such attitudes are utterly foreign to the perfect nature and gracious character of the Universal Father. Paper 4. The people of Urantia, Earth, continue to suffer from the influence of primitive concepts of God. The gods who go on a rampage in the storm, who shake the earth in their wrath and strike down men in their anger, who inflict their judgments of displeasure in times of famine and flood. These are the gods of primitive religion that do those bad things to Sodom and Gomorrah and Ad and Samud. David and Solomon are mentioned as prophets in Quran. You know that in the Bible they're king. Quran changes the story, introduces them as prophets. Solomon can talk to animals and use them in wars. You haven't seen that in the Bible. Solomon succeeded David. He said, "No, my people, we have been taught the tongue of bird and endowed with all good things. Surely this is an evident favor." Solomon marshaled his forces of jinn and men and birds and set them in battle array. So here Solomon is getting ready with his animal army to go fight his enemies. You know, that, I mean, it really makes a great Walt Disney movie. Right. Solomon and his flying magic carpet. Have you seen that? Did you know that Solomon could fly on a magic carpet? Quran states that Allah gave Solomon command over the winds by which he was able to travel a 2-month journey in less than a day. The Muslim tradition says that Solomon used to travel on a carpet which was carried off by the winds. And we subjected to Solomon the violent wind. It blew at his bidding toward the land which we had blessed, and we have knowledge of all things. We assigned him devils who dived into the sea for him and performed other tasks besides. We kept a watchful eye over them. Imagine God assigning devils to do something. I don't think the God that I know would use devils for any purpose. But God would not use the secondary midwayers for whatever reason. Right. Here is another surah, Sheba or Saba. To Solomon we subdued the wind. Its morning course was a month's journey, and his evening course was a month's journey too. And we caused the fount of molten copper to flow for him, and of jinn were some who worked under him by the command of his Lord. And we said that whoever of them turned away from our command, we would make him taste the punishment of the burning fire. This punishment of the burning fire is applied throughout Quran for whatever that the author dislikes. And I'll show him to you. Sure.
In all of these translations, I heard the word carpet.
It's insinuated that way. I haven't seen, right, because it says, because it's hadith actually. Hadith are the sayings of Muhammad. That's a different book altogether by itself. So through hadith, through what Muhammad said, and they collected all these hadiths, and in some hadiths Muhammad could have said that he actually had a flying magic carpet, but it's not in the Quran. The Quran just says he used to travel on something. Almost, yeah, similar to that. Here's the Prophet of Islam. Muhammad, Prophet of Islam, was born in Mecca in 570 AD. At age 25, married Khadijah, a 40-year-old widow and the richest woman in Mecca. Basically, he provided for all his financing for the movement. If that marriage had not taken place, Muhammad didn't have any money for his movement. After her death, he married many women and took many female slaves. I saw an email actually the night before that the numbers were as high as 46. I've seen bigger numbers as well. He claimed prophethood or prophecy at age 40, and after 23 years died at age 63 and was buried in Medina, which you see in the picture. Paper 95, Urantia book. The strength of Islam has been its clear-cut and well-defined presentation of Allah as the one and only deity. Its weakness, the association of military force with its promulgation together with its degradation of women. So basically it says three things. Its strength is a monotheistic religion. Its weakness is it looks down on women, degrades women, and it spreads by the power of the sword, and I'll get into that. Muhammad fought 27 battles during his lifetime, and after his death, his successors continued their military conquests in the name of Allah. During Muhammad's era, it may be interesting for you that you may think that Muhammad was the only prophet at his time. There were 32 people during his lifetime that claimed to be prophets. 3 of them were women, believe it or not. They were Sajjah, Musaylameh, and Tulayheh. Sajjah had 30,000 followers. All 3 were killed by Khalid ibn Walid, by the order of Abu Bakr, the first Khalif. Muhammad had nicknamed Khalid ibn Walid as Sayfullah, the drawn sword of God. He was Abu Bakr's military commander. This drawn sword of God caused so much devastation in my country that led to the overthrow of the civilized, major civilization, the Persian Empire. And that's where the problems of my country started 1400 years ago, by the drawn sword of God. No, Khalid ibn Walid did this after Muhammad died. There are 4 Khalifas. I'll get to them. And Khalid ibn Walid was the military commander of the first Khalifa, the first successor of Muhammad. Muslims believe that God has sent 124,000 prophets. 28 of them are named in the Quran. It names Adam as the first prophet and Muhammad as the last prophet. There are 5 major prophets: Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad. Muhammad is considered as the seal of prophets, the final prophet. Surah 675, Carol says, "And we showed Abraham the kingdom of heavens and the earth so that he may become a firm believer. We gave him Isaac and Jacob and guided them as we guided Noah before them. Among his descendants were David and Solomon, Job and Joseph and Moses and Aaron. Thus are the righteous rewarded. Zacharias, John, Jesus, Elias, Ishmael, Elijah, Jonah, Lot." He just throws a bunch of names out there. More Jesus, mixing Jesus with all these other names. Just tell you how much he really knew about the Old Testament stories and what have you. What happened? That building is a mosque in Iran. Throughout the presentation, you will see a lot of these. It's a beautiful artwork, actually. They're from the city of Isfahan, which is in the center of Iran. This is all artwork in the mosques that were created just to show art, basically. Compilation of Quran's material. The delivery and writings of Quran extended over a 23-year period. Passages were taken down from Muhammad's lips or committed to memory, and then at some subsequent time period recorded. Many passages were preserved only in the memories of his followers and were never written down during his lifetime. After Muhammad's death, many reciters of the Quran were killed in the Battle of Yamama. Omar then, your mama. Omar then suggested to Abu Bakr that all the material of Quran should be collected. Then all the fragments that were written on palm leaves and tablets of stone and from the memories of his followers were collected. The first complete manuscript was compiled 20 years after Muhammad's death. Years later, Khalifa Osman ordered all the copies of Quran to be brought in. A fresh revision was made and all the other copies were burned. That's an interesting observation, actually. Yeah. Quran of Imam Ali. Imam Ali is the first Shia Imam and the 4th Khalifa, according to the Sunni religion. According to historians, Quran of Imam Ali was written in chronological order. The one that we have now is not in chronological order. There were verses in Quran that confirmed him as Imam, and that's a subject of dispute between the Sunnis and the Shias. On the day that Osman's Quran was established, Imam Ali put his Quran on his camel and went to see Osman. But Osman ordered him to return and said, "If you do not comply, I will kill you." Osman did not want war among Muslims caused by having various versions of Quran. Imam Ali obeyed and returned home. He was a cousin of Muhammad. He was a cousin. And he was the second person who believed in Muhammad. The first one being his wife Khadija, The second one was him, I believe. No, they all succeeded each other, and I'll show you all that. It's in the presentation. Quran's conflicting stories. There are over 500 conflicts within the pages of Quran about the destruction of Ad that we just covered earlier. In Surah 229, the cow, it says, God created the earth first and then created the heavens. In Surah 79:27, the soul snatchers, Al-Nazi'at, it says the exact opposite. In Surah 54:19, the moon, Al-Qamar, it says that God destroyed Ad in one day. In Surah 41:16, Revelations well expounded, it says that Ad were destroyed in several days. In Surah 69, the inevitable, it says that Ad were destroyed in 7 nights and 8 days. So you see all these various versions of one story. It should be noted that there is no record of Ad in any secular historical document or the Bible. About the creation of heaven and earth, Surah 229, cow. He created for you all that the earth contains, then ascending to the sky, fashioned it into 7 heavens. He has knowledge of all things. In Surah 79:27, the soul snatchers, he says, are you harder to create than the heaven which he has built? He raised it high and fashioned it, giving darkness to its night and brightness and to its day. Night, I meant. After that, he spread the earth and drawing water from its depth, brought forth its pastures. The exact opposite story. About the creation of man, Surah 15:26, Al-Hajj. We created man from dry clay, God is saying. We created man from dry clay, from black molded loam. And before him, Satan, from smokeless fire. In the other surah, 86:5, he says, let man reflect from what he's created. He's created from an ejected fluid that issues from between the loins and the ribs. So which one should I believe? Quran's depiction of paradise. Paradise. Bob is going to like that. The merciful, 55:41. For those that fear the majesty of their lords, there are 2 gardens. Which of your Lord's blessings will you deny? I'm going to factor out which of your Lord's blessings will you deny in pink color. It's repeated throughout. Planted with shady trees. Each is watered by a flowing spring. Each bears every kind of fruits in pairs. They shall recline on couches lined with thick brocade, and within their reach will hang the fruits of both gardens. Can you imagine? I'm sitting in, where am I sitting? I'm getting the fruit of this garden and that garden. I must have really long hands to reach both gardens. They shall dwell with bashful virgins, whom neither man nor jinn or genie will have touched before. Here is a garden of Lahore, in Lahore Fort in Pakistan, incorporating pathways and a strong geometric design typical of paradise. Garden, what it doesn't have are the virgins. Virgins as fair as corals and rubies. After this, you're going to convert to Islam, I assure you of that. Virgins as fair as corals and rubies. Shall the reward of goodness be anything than good? And besides of these, there shall be 2 other gardens of darkest green. A gushing fountain shall flow in each planted with fruit trees, the palm and the pomegranate. In each shall be virgins, chaste and fair. What is interesting about the fruits are only the fruits that the author was familiar with. He didn't know about avocado, he didn't know about all these other fruits that exist in the Western Hemisphere, only what existed in that region. Fig and pomegranate, you know. That is correct. Yes, it is. When you actually have reading in Arabic, it's like that. Yes.
They say deny. Do they really mean like reject?
Exactly. He says, which of the Lord's blessing are you rejecting? The Lord is giving you all these beautiful ladies and the palm tree and the fig tree and the flowing water and all that. Are you denying that? It must be a magic number. I don't know. Dark-eyed virgins. They don't like blue eyes or green color eyes. Dark-eyed virgins, sheltered in their tents, whom neither man nor jinn have touched before. Fresh for you. They shall recline on green cushions and rich carpets. Blessed by the name of your Lord, the Lord of majesty and glory. Now here in Surah 78:31, the tithing says, as for the righteous, they shall surely triumph. There shall be gardens and vineyards and high-bosomed virgins for companions. A truly overflowing cup. See the picture on the right, paradise, Bedouin's dream. The one on the left, Bedouin's reality. It's trying to tell you that these guys were living on desert with camels, but as you see on the left, and they were dreaming for these type of a life on the right. Here is a Muhammad cartoon. It says, stop, we have run out of virgins. These suicide bombers are coming, blowing themselves up in hope of getting to heaven and getting those ladies. Yeah, he is still there. He's been threatened. Human source of Quran. This is Cave Hira in the mountain Jabal al-Nur, where according to Muslim beliefs, Muhammad received his first revelation through angel Gabriel. Researchers believe that he had a Persian companion named Ruzbehan Parsi or Farsi. Parsi is the same as Farsi, it's an ancient way of saying Farsi. Or Salman Farsi, who taught him the verses of Quran. In fact, angel Gabriel, who appeared to Muhammad in this cave, was no one other than Salman Farsi. Salman? The writings there, it says, خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ عَلَقٍ. It's a wording of, it's a quote from Quran. It says God, it's the same thing that I just quoted for you, that how was human being created from an ejected fluid. That's what it says there, actually. Right. So the real Gabriel, angel Gabriel that Muhammad claimed appeared to him and gave him the verses was no one other than this Iranian guy. Exactly. Somewhat. Human source of Quran by Quran's own admission. This is very interesting because there is reference inside Quran actually that points to that. Surah 16:102, Nahl, the bee. And indeed we know that they, polytheists and pagans, parentheses, say it is only a human being who teaches him, Muhammad. The tongue of the man they refer to is foreign, it's Persian, it's Ajam, which they refer to Iranians as Ajam. While this Quran is a clear Arabic tongue. So, his opponents or criticizers were telling him, hey man, we see you with that Iranian guy going to that cave, and now you're claiming that you're Allah's apostle. We've seen you with him. Then he pulls the verse, like I told you here, as it says here. In Surah 25:4, Al-Furqan, the criterion, it says, the unbelievers say, this is but a forgery of his own invention, in which others have helped him. Others have helped him. Unjust is what they say and false. So again, he's referring to his criticizers. They're telling him, hey man, somebody is helping you write that stuff. This is not God telling you that. People didn't believe him when he was presenting these stories. So he had to pull a verse and say, hey, this is what Allah just told me about what you're telling me. There were many researchers during the last 3 decades that did exhaustive research about the human source of Quran. One of the major people that had a hand into that was Dr. Furud Fuladvand. He had 3 PhDs. Unfortunately and sadly enough, he was assassinated by the agents of the mullahs in Iran. Researchers who have done extensive research on the human source of Quran, Dr. Furud Fuladvand. Dr. Fuladvand, who was assassinated by the agents of the Iranian regime in 2006, discussed the origin of Islam and the human source of Quran in his TV program for 5 years. I used to listen. I used to just be awake and sit there and just listen to this man. I have never seen anyone as knowledgeable as he was in my entire life of all the stuff that I've listened to. His loss is a tremendous loss that we'll never, we are not going to have anybody like him again. He wanted, Dr. Fuladwand used to say that Salman had an agenda. He wanted to overthrow the last king of Sassanid and replace him as king, Yazdgird III. He belonged to an overthrown dynasty, Salman Parsi did, a descendant of Manucher Shah Pishdadi. All he got at the end of his life was the rulership of Tisfun, also called Madain, in today's Iraq. He died at the time of Khalifa Osman. So he made his best effort. This guy actually was a priest. Some say that he was a prince. He was related to he basically claimed the dynasty from Manucher Shah Pishdadi. He wanted to revive a fallen dynasty. He wanted to oppose the existing dynasty of Sassanid and basically establish his own fallen dynasty. He walked around, asked for help. Nobody helped him. He changed his religion from Zoroastrianism into Mazdak religion. Then Mazdakis at some point become persecuted in Iran. Then he is forced to flee from Iran. He goes to today's Iraq, then he gets captured as a slave, then he's sold in a slave market. The man goes through so much in his life. He becomes a Jew, then he becomes Christian. He learns about everything about their scriptures and Bible and everything. And he was an extremely knowledgeable man. He is the source of Quran, the major source of Quran, because there are other people that are involved in his creation as well. But he was the number one source. He's the narrator. He's the narrator.
It's confusing. It seems to indicate this man is who you're talking about.
No.
That's not who you're talking about.
This is the man that tells us about the story.
About Solomon.
He is the researcher. Dr. Furude Fuladwand is a researcher who was assassinated by the mullahs. He had a TV program called Ma TV. Ma means us, we. And for 5 years, he just read the Quran and he ran through all these different sources in Arabic language and he translated it for us. And that's what he's doing on his TV program in the picture. And this was like a biggest bomb, nuclear bomb ever dropped. That this man made a significant contribution to his revelation, discovering the human source. Nobody knows. He goes through it, but nobody knows. It's really guesswork. But he was the major author of the Quran. Here is another researcher, Professor Dr. Masood Ansari. He teaches in a university in Washington, D.C. I've listened to him repeatedly. If you go look for his name on YouTube, you can find him. All these people are on YouTube, by the way. Dr. Masood Ansari, a professor in the University in Washington, D.C., says that Muhammad was a student and creation of Salman Parsi. Since Salman could not say, I am a prophet, he would push Muhammad forward to accomplish his purpose for him. Here is another researcher, Dr. Siavash Avesta. His real name is Dr. Hassan Abbasi, but since the name is Arabic and he disliked that, he wanted to be Iranian, with an Iranian name. He changed his name from Hassan Abbasi to Siavash Avesta. Dr. Avesta is a well-known Iranian scholar and researcher and authority on Islam. Dr. Avesta says that some of the verses of Quran are a translation of Avesta, the Zoroastrian holy book. In his book, Quran, a composition in Farsi style, he discusses Quran's human origin. I downloaded his book, the one that I just mentioned, from his website. That's his book. He just goes through exhaustively through so many documents. He says that he has read 50,000 pages of information from 4 languages to dig the truth and the human author and all that. And he has discovered all that. Dr. Avesta is the author of more than 70 books written in Persian, Arabic, French, and English. His latest book in French is called The Women and the Fight Inside the Political Islam. That's his website down there. Absolutely. 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 Because you are saying that this is not from God. But they wholeheartedly believe. I can understand that because I was a Muslim at some point in my life. But I was although I was a radical and I believed in martyrdom, I believed to die for my cause based on the teachings that I was brought up with. But I was a tolerant Muslim. I belong to a progressive group of Muslims, and we'll talk about them. In Surah 434, women, it says, Quran's view on women. It says, men have authority over women because Allah has made the one superior to the other, and because they spend their wealth to maintain them. Good women are obedient. If you are not obedient, you're not a good woman. They guard their unseen parts because Allah has guarded them. As for those from whom you fear disobedience, admonish them and send them to beds apart and beat them. Then if they obey you, take no further action against them. Allah is high supreme. In Surah 229, this is a masterpiece. It says, women are your fields. Go then into your fields as you please. Enter from any door as you please. This is Allah's own words. Encouragement of violence. There are 520 verses in Quran that encourage killing and various forms of violence. Surah 533, the table. Those that make war against Allah and His apostle and spread disorders in the land shall be put to death or crucified or have their hands and feet cut off on alternate sides or be banished from the country. Surah 24:2. The adulterer and the adulteress shall be given 100 lashes. Let no pity for them cause you to disobey Allah. We witness that in Iran, the streets of Iran, every day, the 100 lashes. Many people have died after the 50th lash or what have you. This is according to the word of Allah. Surah 178. Believers, retaliation is decreed for you in bloodshed. It is from the peaceful religion. The destiny of the unbelievers, as you can see in the picture. Surah 98:6, the proof. The unbelievers among the people of the book. The people of the book are the Christians and the Jews. Those who have a book. And the pagans shall burn forever in the fire of hell. They are the vilest of all creatures. Surah 74:23, the cloaked one. What will explain to you what hellfire is? It leaves nothing. It spares no one. It burns the skin of men. It is guarded by 19 keepers. So there are 19 security guards standing at the door to make sure you can't get out. Flames of fire shall be lashed at you, and molten brass. There shall be none to help you. Surah 22:19, the pilgrimage. The faithful and the unbelievers contend about their Lord. Garments of fire have been prepared for the unbelievers. Scalding water shall be poured upon their heads, melting their skins and that which is in their bellies. They shall be lashed with rods of iron. Whenever in their anguish they try to escape from hell, the angels will drag them back, saying, taste the torment of hellfire. Surah 385, the Imams. He that chooses a religion other than Islam, it will not be accepted from him. And in the world to come, he will be one of the lost. For those of you who believe in the Urantia book or other books, that's your answer. About Jesus, sonship of Jesus. In Surah 1988, Mary, it says, those who say the Lord of mercy has begotten a son, preach a monstrous falsehood, at which the very heavens might crack, the earth break asunder, and the mountains crumble to dust, that they should ascribe a son to the merciful, when it does not become him to beget one. It's a beautiful picture of Jesus. I love that picture. I just threw it in there. And that one. Surah 359, the Imams. Jesus is like Adam in the sight of Allah. He created him of dust and then said to him, be, and he was. Imran is a name given to Mary's father in Quran. interestingly enough, instead of Joseph. About the Trinity. Let's see what the Urantia book says. Paper 92. The followers of Muhammad stumbled at the advanced teachings of the Trinity. They could not comprehend the doctrine of three divine personalities and one deity. It is always difficult to induce evolutionary minds suddenly to accept advanced revealed truth. Surah 4, 171, women, it says, people of the book, that means Christians or Jews, Christians, do not go into excess in your religion and do not say anything about God except the truth. The Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, was nothing more than a messenger of God. His word directed to Mary, a spirit from him. So believe in God and his messengers and do not speak of a Trinity. Stop. That is better for you. God is only one God. He's far above having a son. Everything in the heavens and earth belong to him, and he's the best one to trust. Surah 572, the table. It says, unbelievers are those that say Allah is one of three. There is but one God. If they do not desist from saying so, those of them that disbelieve shall be sternly punished. The Messiah, son of Mary, was no more than an apostle. Surah 572 table. Those who say God is the Messiah, the son of Mary, have defied God. The Messiah himself said, children of Israel, worship God, my Lord and your Lord. If anyone associates others with God, God will forbid him from garden, and hell will be his home. No one will help such evildoers. Those people who say that God is third of three are defying the truth. There is only one God. If they persist in what they are saying, a painful punishment will afflict those of them who persist. Why do they not turn to God and ask him forgiveness? When God is most forgiving, most merciful. The Messiah, son of Mary, was only a messenger. Other messengers have come and gone before him. His mother was a virtuous woman. Both ate food. See how clear we make these signs for them? See how deluded they are? Surah 5:116 table. When God said, Jesus, son of Mary, did you say to people, take me and my mother as two gods alongside God? So now he's saying that even Mary is a god. Christians never made that claim. He will say, may you be exalted. I would never say that I had no right to say. If I had said such a thing, you would have known it. You know all that is within me, though I do not know what is within you. You alone have full knowledge of all of things unseen. Angels in Quran. Angels are extensively talked about. In Quran, there are 4 groups of archangels. Gabriel, angel of revelation. Michael, angel of providence. Israfil, angel of doom. Israel, angel of death. Second group are ministering angels, and they include recording angels, the throne bearers, and questioners of the dead. The third group is the fallen angels, the chief of which is Iblis or Satan. A fourth group includes jinn or genie, a group of spirits midway between men and angels, some good and some bad. Kaaba or Kaaba. This is in paper 95. This is extremely important, guys. It says, there was only one factor of a tribal, racial, or national nature about the primitive and unorganized beliefs of the desert, and that was the peculiar and general respect which almost all Arabian tribes were willing to pay to a certain black stone fetish in a certain temple at Mecca. That was the certain temple. This point of common contact and reverence subsequently led to the establishment of Islamic religion. What Yahweh, the volcano spirit, was to the Jewish Semites, the Kaaba stone became to their Arabic cousins. This is the Kaaba stone. It's probably a meteor. They believe it was a meteorite that hit Earth, and they think it's a stone fallen from heaven, and they kiss it and they revere it, as you can see in the picture. That's in that corner of that cubic house, as you can see. That cubic house, Kaaba, by the way, Muslims believe it was built by Abraham. It was actually built by idol worshippers. They had 360 idols placed in this structure. And when Muhammad came as a prophet, these idols were there. The Kaaba is a cube-shaped building in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, and is the most sacred site in Islam. The building predates Islam, and according to Islamic tradition, the first building at the site was built by Abraham. Not so. Abraham had nothing to do with that region of the world. He never stepped there. The building had a mosque built around it, Masjid al-Ahram. All Muslims around the world face the Kaaba during the prayers, no matter where they are. One of the 5 pillars of Islam requires every Muslim to perform the Hajj pilgrimage at least once in his or her lifetime. Before establishment of Islam, there were 360 idols in Kaaba. It was a place for worshipping idols. I've never been there. My mother has visited there. Yeah, because they feel like they're so blessed. Oh, God gave me the privilege of seeing His house, and that's God's house. Okay, Caliphs or Khalifas. These are the successors of Muhammad. There were 4 of them. Number 1, Abu Bakr. Number 2, Omar. Number 3, Osman. Number 4, Ali. So a Sunni Muslim believes in this order of successorship after Prophet Muhammad. These were their era, as you can see, between 632 to 661, all the way down. First one died of natural aging. The other 3 were assassinated. All 3 who were assassinated by Iranian freedom fighters whose land had been invaded, overrun by the Arab Muslim invaders. So they basically wanted to retake their country, and they assassinated the 3 caliphs. Go ahead. These Arab invaders were the Abu Bakr's army, and Omar's army, and Osman's army, and Ali's army. These 4 people that you see here. All of them in Saudi Arabia, but then they expanded their territory into Iran and into other Arabian, even non-Arabic countries. Like Lebanon was not an Arabic country. They made it a Muslim and Arabic country. Egypt was not an Arabic country. They made it, the Arabic culture and language and all that was introduced to that country after Islam. Actually, no. The dispute over this is on successorship. The Sunnis say the first successor of Muhammad was Khalif Abu Bakr, followed by Omar, followed by Osman, followed by Ali. The Shiites say no. They curse these people. They curse them. In fact, they built a tomb to celebrate the assassination of Omar. I'll show you that. I'll show that to you in the picture. They curse them. They hate them. They say the 12 Shia Imams are the true successors because they are directly from Muhammad's own blood and dynasty. Exactly. And there are, so many different sects. Even within Shia by itself, there are like 200 sects. The major Shiites believe that the first Imam was Imam Ali, the first successor. Then ended with Imam Mahdi, the 12th successor, who disappeared, and he's the Messiah. But some other Muslim beliefs, Ismailiyah, for example, believe that it continued. You're on Imam number 47 or what have you, and it didn't stop. So, there are all these different sects.
Did you know genealogy that they predicted almost half of Americans in the United States if they're actually proven, and they're actually related to Muhammad because of the great genealogy that was done in Muhammad and then he went to Spain, and then it ended up being part of the royal family of England.
Oh. No, I didn't know that. No.
Yeah.
Let me run fast if you guys let me, because there's a few slides left and we can discuss all that. This is the sacred place, for example, that the Shia Muslims built for the killer of Omar in Iran, the tomb of Firuz Nahavandi, the killer, commonly known as Imamzadeh Abu Lolo, in Kashan, Isfahan province. It is constructed in an 11th century distinctive Khwarezmian dynastic architectural style, consisted of a courtyard, porch, and conical dome decorated with turquoise-colored tiles and painted ceilings. The original date of its construction is unknown, but in second half of the 14th century it was fully restored, and now a tombstone was placed over his grave. So the Shiites are celebrating. We are happy that they killed the Umar, and they actually. Except the only thing that they don't know is the guy who killed their Imam number 1 and Sunnis number 4, Imam Ali, was an Iranian too. And they curse him, but they don't know. I mean, this Dr. Fuladman explained that extensively in his TV program. These are the 12 Shia Imams. Okay? Starting with Imam Ali, then Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, Imam Ali Zaylul Abidin, Imam Muhammad Baqir, Imam Ja'far Sadiq, Imam Musa Kazim, Imam Reza, Imam Jawad, Imam Ali Naqi, Imam Hassan Askari, Imam Mahdi, known as Imam of Time, the final Imam, and is believed that he's still living in occultation. That means he's hiding. All the other Imams were poisoned. The first one was assassinated. Actually, the truth about the last Imam is he disappeared when he was like 13 years old. And he went inside of a well. That's where he disappeared. So who knows? He probably was killed by his enemies. Maybe he just ran away, disappeared somewhere. But anyway, the Shia Muslims believe that, he is the Messiah. He's just in hiding. He's going to return and save the world. He's going to ride a horse with Jesus walking by him, standing on his feet while he's riding the horse. So that means Jesus of a lower rank comparing to Imam Mahdi. That is the Shia belief. This is Imam Ali. Look at his sword. With that sword, in one night, he beheaded 4,000 people. He was a ruthless killer in reality. But Shia Muslims consider him a saint. They love him. They almost regard him as God. There is actually a sect in Islam that consider Imam Ali as God incarnate in human flesh. Yeah, well, this source, Hilyatul Muttaqin, is a major Shia source of reference information. In that it says, he quotes Imam Ali saying, Prophet Muhammad sent me to Medina to destroy all the faces, the drawings, level off all the high graves and kill all the dogs. Can you imagine why Taliban is destroying the Buddha statue and doing all that? Because they see Imam Ali doing that. They're just copycatting. That's his shrine where he was buried, and the lower picture. And the picture on the right, it says, this is the picture that is actually kept in a museum, probably Louvre Museum in France. That's probably most likely what he looked like. But then they want you to believe that he was this saint with all this radiation. His face is all radiated on the left. But still, they couldn't take away the sword from him because that's what he did. He killed people. This is Imam Hussein, number 3. And he died of a martyr death with an army of 72. He went against an army of 10,000 for his cause, basically. And that's people, I used to go to places like that. I'll show you in the following picture. Imam Reza, Imam number 8. I visited this place 2 times in my lifetime. I see people doing this thing, and I did it myself, and I didn't know. People would be clinging on this, all the chain-like structure, and we would be kissing it, and we ask for healing, and we ask for wishes. We ask Imam, Imam is there. Imam, you can hear us. Grant us this wish. So they ask, and they claim that there are miracles that are taking place. There are stories told in there as you go there. We saw Imam appearing with a chunk of rock candy, and it was broken into 1,000 pieces. Everybody, ate pieces of that, and they were all healed from all the diseases and that they had. There's all these stories floating around about the miracles of Imam number 8, Imam Reza. It happens to be my middle name. Except I can't perform any miracles. I want you to know that Iran was a Zoroastrian country. The religion of Iran was Zoroastrianism. Iran is a very ancient and advanced civilization. Unfortunately, the picture that is given to the world from what these fundamentalist Islamics are doing in Iran is a very bad image. That is not the true image. We are a civilized nation. We have 7,000 years of recorded history. our descendants are the Aryans that are taught good. They made they played a significant role in history, in advancement of human civilization. Yes. That is this symbol that I'm wearing here right now. It means, yes, it symbolizes good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. A simple religion. Good thoughts, good words, good deeds. That's it. This actually has a meaning. This symbol is called Farah Bahar. Farah Bahar. It's a man bird. Right. With wing. If you go, there's a story behind this. And this is not just a drawing. There is a story behind it. Every piece of that drawing means something. But we don't have time to get into these details. So if you go do Google search, Farah Bahar, it explains all that. You can find a million websites. It's there. It's on the presentation. Farah Bahar. Winged symbol of Zoroastrianism. And here is one of their temples in Yazd, city of Yazd, Iran. Does it? This is Prophet Zoroaster. Paper 95, Urantia book. The Jewish traditions of heaven and hell and the doctrine of devils, as recorded in the Hebrew scriptures, while founded on the lingering traditions of Lucifer and Calgasia, were principally derived from the Zoroastrians during the times when the Jews were under the political and cultural dominance of the Persians. Zoroaster, like the Egyptians, taught the day of judgment, but he connected this event with the end of the world. So there is Zoroaster. I'm not going to get into that. That's the Salem doctrine in Iran. It talks about the Zoroaster and what happened and what have you. I'll give you if you want, you can give me your email. I'll email you a copy of this presentation. You can read in detail. The Baha'i faith. I just want to tell you that Baha'i faith is an offshoot of Islam. Basically, it's a monotheistic religion founded by Baha'u'llah in the 19th century. Emphasizing the spiritual unity of all mankind, there are an estimated 5 to 6 million Baha'is around the world. They are persecuted, yes. In 1844, Sayyid Ali Muhammad of Shiraz, Iran, proclaimed that he was the Bab. Bab means gate, Bab. Referencing his later claim to a station of Mahdi. He said, I am the Imam Mahdi. I have appeared finally. So he claimed to be Imam number 12. His followers were called Babis. And you can read about that. I'm not going to get into that. That's a lot of reading. The progressive Islamic groups. The most progressive Iranian group right now that is working to overthrow the dictatorship ruling in Iran is called the People's Mujahideen Organization of Iran. The leadership of Mujahideen, believe it or not, the entire leadership is women. So this Muslim group is doing exactly the opposite of what their Quran is telling them. In fact, they are progressives. Their views are very progressive. The way they treat women, the way women are in charge of all the various things, within their organization, it indicates that they are progressive. Maryam Rajavi is the president-elect of National Council of Resistance of Iran, which is the next government in exile should they succeed in overthrowing the Mullah's regime and establish a provisional government for 6 months. She'll be the president. Masoud Rajavi will be the prime minister. And then they're going to run an election, and people will vote into the new constitution. That's their plan. Unfortunately, yes, their name entered as a terrorist group inside the U.S. list of foreign terrorist organizations because they had a behind-the-door deal with the mullahs. The mullahs asked them, this happened during the time of Khatami, because Clinton administration was having behind-the-door negotiations with President Khatami, assuming that President Khatami was a moderate, so to give him a boost against the bad guys, they had to comply with their demand to put these people's name in the list of foreign terrorist organizations. And the European Parliament did, but then they succeeded. They removed the name. The European Parliament removed their name from their list. And it was challenged in U.S. Court of Appeal lately, just like a few weeks ago, voted in their favor. They're asking the State Department to remove their name from that list, and we're waiting for that to happen. Yesterday, 2 days ago, they had a new revelation that Iran has another uranium enrichment facility, which they have been keeping secret from the world. And so this group has been behind all these revelations.
Are they here?
No, they are not. And I'm going to tell you why. This is what they believe in. I wanted to end with this actually, to put a good ending to this presentation. We saw all the bad things that you saw in Quran says kill and torture and do this and do that. But this is not the views of the progressive Muslims. There are Muslims that are actually in line with the teachings of the Urantia book, working for the establishment of the era of light and life. They call that divinely integrated classless society. Mujahideen are hoping to achieve this society, to bring this society, but they say the world is going to go through stages before this society is established. One thing, however, they are wrong on, and that is they believe Imam Mahdi is going to appear and is going to be the founder of this society. I disagree with that. It's not going to happen. But perhaps, as the Urantia book says, it's going to be one of the sons. There you go, magisterial sons that is going to actually inaugurate the era of light and life, which they call divinely integrated classless society. Let's look at the characteristics of this society. What is it all about? The Urantia book does not get into too much detail, but they do. Number one, maximum scientific and technological growth, adaptation of human beings with nature, and utilization of all man-made and natural riches benefiting all members of the world society, not just particular groups. 2, complete wipeout of tyranny, despotism, exploitation, and any form of dictatorship. No traces of monopolists and domination-seeking classes will be left. I translated this piece from one of their books in Farsi for you. 3, complete elimination of monetary economy and commodity thinking. No traces of money and profit seeking will be left. That means you can only find money in museums after this. That's it. That's the only place where you can find money. You cannot find the dollar bill or any other bills. Private ownership on tools of production will be eliminated. Material gains will not be a motivation for work and economic activity, but rather supreme spiritual motives will be a substitute. 4, eradication of wars and permanent establishment of peace and prosperity on earth. 5, with collapse of foundation of oppression and exploitation, no place will be left for particular class, national, and racial rulership, and a single world society will be established. A society that is governed by a planetary council. Can you imagine? All the borders between the countries will be eliminated. There's not going to be America, Iran, Afghanistan, and what have you. It's going to be a single world society. 6, with these upheavals, all social corruptions and mischiefs, such as prostitution, theft, crime, will permanently disappear. So let's hope for the establishment of this society. In the other segment, I have some Urantia book answers for, what does the Urantia book say, for flood. You can dig all that stuff. Basically, I'll send you the PowerPoint presentation if you desire. You can go through all that. This is for my own curiosity. I put it, were Adam and Eve God's first human creation on earth? That's what the Urantia book tells you. I, put that together for my own understanding, but it's just kind of it could be a topic of another discussion. Thank you. Wow, 1 hour and 15 minutes.